Welcome to Revelation Brothers. This is season 3, episode 2. It is Signs Over America.
Yep.
I'm Brent, and this is Anthony. And Signs Over America, we are going to take some time and discuss the upcoming April 8th solar eclipse. Yep.
So we typically just do a podcast on Spotify, Castbox, or Apple Podcasts, but we used to do these on YouTube, and we kind of feel led, especially for this, to start kind of doing an intro. We'll kind of share a little bit on each episode, and this is a place where you also put questions, and we'll check that and maybe answer those in the episode for you. But tonight, like you said, Signs Over America, that is the title. Brent, what comes to mind for you when you think of Signs Over America?
Well, obviously, the solar eclipse.
Yeah. I think we have one of those coming up, right?
Yeah, we do. April 8th. We had one not too long ago either, in October. And before that, we had another one that went across the U.S. Back in, was it 2017? Yep.
I think it was August 21st.
Yep. It was actually the first day of school where we're at, and we let out early. And actually, I think all the schools in our area are either canceling school or letting out early on the 8th. So that everybody can enjoy seeing the cool sign in the sky. But these signs in the sky, a lot of people may write them off as just being signs, but being that we're Revelation Brothers and we like to talk about biblical prophecy and bringing it to today's generation to help us all understand prophecy in the Bible, because the Bible is what, one-third
prophecy.
So to ignore prophecy in the Bible is to ignore 1/3 of the Bible. But God says that He put the moon, the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky to tell us, to show what season we're in. And it's not talking about winter, spring, summer, or fall, but the prophetic seasons.
Yes.
And you may think, well, what's the big deal? It's a solar eclipse. Eclipse happens all the time. Yeah, they do. They just don't always happen over a body of land. But
not like this. These are special.
But these are signs, and normally the prophetic sign of a solar eclipse is one that judgment is coming.
Yeah, it's an omen.
Yes.
And
we're going to be looking at that, talking about an example of that. Actually, with Nineveh, before Jonah got there, there's believed to be a solar eclipse.
Yeah, it was the Great Assyrian Eclipse. Yeah. Here's the interesting thing with these eclipses Brent was talking about, and we'll kind of give you a little bit here, and then the rest of this you're going to have to go to the actual podcast to hear. But these signs that he's talking about, I believe it's Genesis 1:14 or 1:15, where he says that he created the lights in the firmament for signs and seasons. Signs is the Hebrew word ot, which literally means omens. And then you have, or signs, and then you have the seasons, which are the appointed feasts. That is the 7 feasts that are given to the Jewish nation. You have 4 in the fall. You have 3 in the spring. So you have Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost. Those are your spring feasts. They were all fulfilled to the day by Jesus. Then you have the 3 remaining fall feasts that have not been fulfilled. That is trumpets, atonement, and tabernacles. So he says God created the sun, the moon, and the stars to help us understand his appointed feast, which I just mentioned, and as well as to recognize prophetic signs or omens. And those omens are lunar eclipses and solar eclipses. And that is why this is significant. And we'll give you one example here, because we're going to do a deep dive on episode 2 on Spotify here. And basically, I'll give you an example. So we just had the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. Okay. Francis Scott Key was the one who wrote the national anthem during the War of 1812. That bridge is very prophetically significant. Francis Scott Key, the 1812 timeline happens to be about the same time that we had a similar crossing over the same area in the United States. So we had an eclipse in 1806 over the United States. It went one way. And then in 1811, we had an annular eclipse that went the other way. It made an X just like it's doing on April 8th. 3 months later, okay, that was in August when the one in 1811 happened. 3 months later, so that's December of 1811, the New Madrid Fault went off with 3 of the most powerful earthquakes that the United States has ever seen. It still ranks as the top earthquakes. They were more destructive than anything we've ever seen. That's not hyperbole or sensationalism. Go look them up. You had high 8s or high 7s to low 8s. You had thousands of aftershocks. It made the Mississippi River run backwards for 3 hours. It rang church bells in Boston. They felt it in the White House. It rearranged the landmass. Some say some of the mountains in Tennessee, some of the smaller stuff were formed from that earthquake. And right after those, what happens? The War of 1812. So that crossing over the United States not only caused a national disaster, thankfully that was a sparsely populated area, but it also was symbolic because we had a war with Britain that took off right after that. If you want to learn more about that, you're going to have to come to the podcast where I'll explain all the symbolism behind this.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the reason why God would judge, why we're getting this warning.
Yes,
to have one in 2017, and then this one cross and make an X over America. Anthony, what is significant about that?
Well, without spoiling too much, the X is the letter Tav. So in Paleo Hebrew, when they would draw an X, that is Tav. It's the last letter of their alphabet, okay? And the Tav is a symbol for Jesus, as well as the Aleph. There was an annular eclipse we had in 2023 in October, just last year. And when you put the 2017 one, the 2023 eclipse, and the 2024 eclipse overlaid on a map, you have an Aleph and a Tav, which means the beginning and the end. And if you are familiar with the New Testament or maybe the book of Revelation, I'm pretty sure Jesus says that he is the Alpha and the Omega, which is the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. That is God calling our nation to attention. But we don't want to spoil too much, Brent. So if you want to learn more about this, we've got a whole episode chock full of a bunch of stuff. And I'm telling you, there's some things you're going to learn in this episode that I have not heard anybody else talk about. And we're going to bring those up.
And go research what you hear.
Yes.
Don't take our words for it, because we are human. We can screw up. We try not to. We're very diligent in making sure that what we share with you is accurate. Legit. Hop on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Castbox, and you can search Revelation Bros, and you'll find our picture. Click on that, and you'll find season 3, episode 2.
Should be up sometime this week here. When we're doing this. We're actually getting ready to record the season, episode 2 right after this. But we wanted to kind of give you a sampling and wet your whistle. This is definitely a prophetic event, guys. You're going to want to be educated about it. So join us on the episode and hear what it's all about.
Yep.
All right, Brent.
See you over there.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the episode.